This program is brought to you by realestate.com.au, Australia's #1 address in property. With more properties for sale than anywhere else, we make it easier.
Thanks for being with us here on Business Now. Let's take you through the weekend auction results. It was pretty hot out there, I can tell you. Strong, as you can see, across the country. 1,456 auctions. Look at the clearance rate, 67.7%. That is pretty strong. In Sydney, 527 auctions. Clearance rate here, it was solid, just under 70%. Something's clearly in the water in Melbourne. Have a look at this. There were 506 auctions. The clearance rate's almost boom-like, above 75%. In Brisbane, 71 auctions, a clearance rate of close on 65%. In Adelaide, also strong, 43 auctions, clearance rate 79%. In Canberra, 46 auctions, clearance rate just a tick under 70% there as well. To try and understand this, let's bring in the REA Group's senior economist, Angus Moore. Angus, always good. To what extent does the Reserve Bank take a look at those auction clearance rates and say people just aren't still getting the message? We want it to cool down, not to heat up.
Yeah, look, it's a great question, and certainly it's something they'll be watching. The RBA clearly pays a lot of attention to the housing market. It is enormously important for the economy broadly, but also for economic activity and consumption, both through when people move home, they tend to spend a lot more, and also the fact that when people's home prices are going up, they also tend to spend more. So it's certainly something the RBA will be watching. That said, I don't think it's going to be kind of top of their list of things that they're paying attention to. I think the main things on their mind at the moment are really inflation, which, is looking like it's heading in the right direction, but is still clearly too high, and the labour market, which is still incredibly strong. We have seen it soften a little, though I would stress a little, and it remains extremely tight.
But you and I would have seen the headlines from over the weekend where people were paying way above reserve rates at auction. So that implies, A, that the people have got the money to be able to throw at these, sort of hot houses and hot apartments. But the second thing is, otherwise, there's somebody lending them that money. That's also a part of the equation as to where the demand for housing comes from.
Yeah, absolutely right. And we're still seeing pretty strong conditions for lending finance. It's certainly not what it was, 2021, early 2022, in terms of the volume of new loans being written. But it's still pretty good, and it's well above where it was pre-pandemic. So, by no means are we seeing a big pullback in lending activity overall. We are compared to 12 to 18 months ago, but that was a very, very hot period in housing markets, lending markets, the economy broadly. So the fact that things have come off from there is maybe not a huge surprise.
Okay, so is there still a case whereby the hottest areas are going to be always the places where the population is moving to? So you can see that in southeast Queensland's always been a part of the narrative, a part of the story there. But is that going to be true in individual cities where suburbs where you've got big population shifts to, that they're the ones that see the biggest housing price growth?
Certainly it's a big part of the story. The other side, of course, is where we're building homes, and that in many ways dictates both what happens to prices and where people move. Part of the story for why Melbourne has been such a fast-growing city over the past decade or so is they've just built a lot of homes, particularly relative to New South Wales. And so that's encouraged a lot of people to move there because it is more affordable to buy homes. If we're looking more broadly, though, we are still seeing flows of people from New South Wales and Victoria into southeast Queensland. Remains a very popular spot to move. Always has been. There's kind of no sign of that slowing down, and that's going to continue to be a pretty solid tailwind for home prices there.
Okay, go back to the RBA, and again, its decision, it's an increasing likelihood there's at least another interest rate rise coming. So the point is many people might have been jumping in anticipation that there were no more rate rises, or maybe there was one or two. So people are having to make their decisions based on the fact that they don't believe the housing market craters as a result of these rising rates.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's really changed today relative to, say, 12 months ago is there is a bit more certainty about how much higher interest rates are going to go. Maybe not complete certainty, you're right, there's probably one more, maybe two. For my part, I'm probably more on the two side. I think there's a bit more to do on inflation yet. But the fact that we're kind of quibbling over 25 versus 50 is kind of the point, whereas, 12 months ago, that was clearly not what we were seeing. We're going up 50 basis points every month. There was a lot of uncertainty. And I think, buyers in that environment were pretty hesitant, and we're starting to see a bit less of that today.
I'll tell you what, Angus Moore, always good to have in the program. Many thanks for your time today.